Today's topic is esports and traditional sports, where we are talking about bridging the gaps, right? It stems from a very basic question, which is, sometimes argued, has been covered by the controversy in the past when we talk about sports and also esports, which is the question of what is or what does qualify as sports, right? When, let's say, from the traditional sports perspective, I talk about the definition of sport. It is something which, a game, which also has skill, right? If we talk about Indian perspective, we talk about specifically Formula One. In the past, back in 2011, it was termed as entertainment. Can you imagine Formula One being termed as entertainment and not a game of skill, where drivers are perceived as mere entertainers and not, sports athletes? And when we compare it to or come to the esports perspective in it, esports also has been plagued with such controversy. If we talk about, for example, poker sometimes, and in the near, let's say, past as well, has been termed as a game of chance and sometimes not a game of skill. If it qualifies as a game of chance, right, a athlete or a perceived esports person is automatically a criminal when they are betting into sports and they're not playing a game of skill, right? So with that particular background and considering this is today's first esports panel, before getting into the specific questions for our panel members, I would first like to invite each of our panel member to take 30 seconds of their time and define esports in their own term, in their own language. So we can start with Jay.
Hi everyone, my name is Jay. I'm the co-founder of Orangutan. Just to give you a little bit about what Orangutan does, we are an esports team. So just if I have to compare it to traditional sports, we are like a Mumbai Indians or a Manchester United in esports. We've got competitive players representing Orangutan and playing different esports titles. What is esports for me? I think esports is a game of skill. It is any competitive game like PUBG Mobile, like Counter Strike, like Free Fire. These are all categorized as esports titles. A lot of people usually get confused when within the gaming industry there are multiple games like Candy Crush, Ludo, as he mentioned, poker, rummy, all these different game of chance versus game of skill. So I think esports for us categorizes as a game of skill. In fact, just in December of 2022, um, the Indian government has recognized esports as a part of the multi-sport category and not gaming. So we technically now fall under the sports industry and not the gaming industry.
Yeah, hello. So myself, Dhiman, I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Resilience Esports. Uh, I really want to speak a lot on esports based on what it is currently in today's world. But specifically, we are a tech and a media-based company. We develop a lot of IPs around gaming and esports, particularly onto the competitive and the non-competitive side. If I speak about what the competitive side means, is that anything which can be played on an electronic version on a competitive atmosphere is actually what esports determines. What Jai has said, he has covered maybe the most basic part and the most important part around it, that like there are different kinds of systems, there are different kinds of hierarchies, etc., etc. What I would like to say is that if you compare today esports with the traditional sports side, esports generally have the same field of like work principles, company management, etc., on the current base level that traditional sports has. And the same thing goes onto the picture, that it is just the difference of the people playing the particular game. But yes, there might be a physical entity onto the sports side. People might obviously be playing for long hours, for long amount of days, and like for a very different kind of a physical activity. Esports generally determines the fact that there are similar kind of arrangements that needs to be, like understood when it comes to playing that particular game on a mental level maybe, or often on a physical level as well. And if I talk about statistics and data, which is I think one of the most important part that we need to understand about esports, esports has actually gone ahead and generated more amount of data which are on the better side in terms of the current market for cricket, like a game like cricket, or even for a game like football. And also in that particular perspective, esports has currently gone ahead and obviously, passed over the media and the music industry as well. When it comes to the viewerships, when it comes to engagements, when it comes to even games being played by different kinds of people. So these datas are actually very, very promising, because even though the industry is quite new, there are a lot of new people playing around the market. And these are basically tremendous information that we can gain from today's market in terms of esports. Over to you.
Thank you. Hello there, people. My name is Mallikarjun Reddy. I I'm a founder. I've founded two companies now. The first one is Moram Napo. We are a marketing and a full stack digital marketing company for gaming brands specifically. And I've been working on a project with a couple of people all over the world, building an esports school. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank Rishi and team for including esports in the Sports Planet event. I have not seen a lot of people doing this. First of its kind, maybe a lot of people will follow Rishi and team and the Planet Sports for sure. Uh, Esports for me is it's electronic sports which you play competitively, as simple as that. I think so. The other panelist has already covered most of it. I would also like to give some data around it. Uh, the gaming market, you can combine music, sports, and a couple of other industry. Then too, it doesn't match the gaming industry. The global gaming market is 389 billion with a B. Uh, and in India specifically, the gamer population is roughly around about 444 million gamers in India at the moment. Out of that, competitively, I think so the number is going to reach roughly around about a million competitive players. A, a lot of education is required in terms of getting esports in the sports segment. It's already been taken by considered by the Indian government as a sport. It's already there, it's legalized. But a lot of education towards esports, not only playing competitively, but also the entire ecosystem and the industry needs to be educated to everyone. I'm very sure if I ask a single question around esports, apart from three of us and four of us, I highly doubt it anybody will be able to answer it. It's not that you people don't know. Uh, the Western counterparts, where a lot of education, where the competitive players earn $1 million a year. Uh, Sports brands, celebrities, the government, they all emphasize on esports. They understand it. And I feel India will be there in the next year or two, or it might take time. But people who are in the industry, because of them, we are here, and it's going to go there. So I feel there is still time. India, like I was speaking to Jay about that, I feel India is 7 to 10 years behind than the Western civilization. Maybe we can fill the gap in the next 2 or 3 years and match them. That would be my perception, and I personally would be looking out for that.
Yeah, I think it is very interesting to see, right? Whenever you ask someone to define esports, right, the first thing they do is they compare it to the traditional sports, right? How it is similar to traditional sports and at the same time a bit different as well, and what kind of direction it is going in. Like our panel members mentioned, like it is now through all the red tape, and it has been recognized as let's say multi-sport event, and the athletes, or let's say the gamers, have been recognized as athletes as well, right? Now, my first question, or let's say specific question, is to you, Jay, where you run a sports team, or let's say esports team Orangutan. And you have compared esports to, for example, teams like Mumbai Indians or Manchester United, right? And these teams come with superstars. These teams comes with athletes who are recognized everywhere, right? But at the same time, when we talk about esports, and specifically in context of our society or in context of our family, the esports is not seen as a particular career which any parent or the society looks at. It is not seen as a traditional choice of career for anyone in India specifically, right? And that is also the reason like India is, let's say, 7 to 8 years behind any other, or like Europe, or in fact Asia, China or South Korea, right? Now, my question is, when you are at the forefront, you are at the driving seat when you see your athletes, right? So what kind of issues do you see when it comes to recognition, their recognition as esports players in India, if there is any, or please share your perspective into in which direction we can see the esports as a career going?
Sure. So let me take a step back and just tell you a little bit of the last 3 to 5 years of what has happened in esports. Um, Esports in India kind of got popularity during the COVID phase because everyone was sitting at home, everyone had mobile phones or laptops, and they started playing video games. They started spending a lot of time playing these games. I'm sure everyone in the room would have played Ludo and different games like PUBG while they were, in the lockdown. Um, People saw that as an opportunity, started organizing tournaments. It started with probably a 5,000 or 10,000 rupee prize pool, went up to 10 lakhs, 50 lakhs. Currently, the prize pools in esports range anywhere from 1 crore to 2 crore rupees every tournament. So there are tournaments taking place every week, every month. And the kind of money that is involved in esports today is incredible. Talking about these athletes, if I have to compare them to traditional athletes, one of the unique things about these athletes or these gamers are they are not just esports athletes, but they are influencers on social media as well. When I say influencers, they stream on platforms like YouTube, Twitch, or there are some homegrown platforms like Loco and Router. Um, these guys are very closely connected with their communities or their fans. While streaming, they connect with their fans in a much easier way than what any traditional sports would do. And I think that's been one of the reasons why they have a lot of social media following on their YouTube and Instagram. In fact, you'll be surprised today, few of the esports athletes and content creators and gamers have more following than your traditional sports athletes as well. And the reason is because these guys just don't play esports and the games, but they also stream those games. They also create content around the sport, around something that their community can interact with. So I think these guys are already on the right track. They've got millions of people following them. All different brands are now, because of the community that these guys have, a lot of brands are, doing their activations through these esports athletes and content creators. And I think the whole, when I was comparing it to a Mumbai Indians or a Manchester United, I feel the business side of things are exactly the same in esports as it is in any other sports franchise league. Just like them, we also make our money through sponsorships. We are one of the mediums for different brands to advertise, and it's not just the jersey sponsorships and jersey branding that they get, but because of the social media following that these guys have, there's a lot of content that the esports athletes make and collaborate with the brands on different levels. So the value that we are able to provide, like if, again, just an example, today in sports, in IPL, you would have a brand who's not even on the jersey but is paying almost 2 crore, 3 crore rupee to just do a couple of activations by your athletes over there, which the athletes are also not posting on their social media. In esports, because again, we are at a very nascent stage and we are trying to provide more and more value to brands, um, it's not just the content that we shoot with them. The esports athletes also post on their social media pages and provide more value to these guys. And I think the way the business side of things are taking place, it is at a very nascent stage. You will see a league like IPL, which will be formed for teams like us, and the numbers today, esports, I would say, is third. Like if I have to take PUBG, which is now rebranded as BGMI as a game, uh, the viewership that BGMI is getting is already the third largest sports property in India. It's after IPL and ISL, it's the BGMI tournament that took place called BGMI Master Series, which has gotten more viewership than Kabaddi and a lot of other sports. So because there is so much viewership, because there are the TG that the esports audience is catering to is very attractive for a lot of brands, because that 18 to 25-year-old target group is something that every brand wants to interact with, every brand wants to kind of reach to that target audience. And I think esports as an industry is able to, tick all those boxes. And I feel the future is bright for the Indian esports scenario. And just a couple of hiccups that we've had in the last 2-3 years where games were getting banned by the government. Then government took all the necessary actions to get it back, then recognized it as an official sport. And now I think things are looking good for the next, decade to come.
I think I'll definitely come back to this particular point of government creating certain bans and, let's say, vagueness in terms of when the law is concerned or the policy with respect to gaming is concerned, right? But it's also at the same time interesting to understand and to know, right, where does this realization in these esports athletes comes from, to not just get into from the playing perspective, but also to create different value adds and generate revenue from different streams as well, right? Now, in continuation to that, I'll definitely come to you, Mallikarjun, because interestingly, there are not many esports schools in the country, right? And again, when we talk about esports schools, we have to first, let's say, make a comparison to the traditional sports. When we talk about traditional sports, and I'll take an example from what Dr. Kenjom was talking about, why he is so good at football. It is his orientation towards an understanding of the sport since childhood. Or if we talk about any Indian in the country, with respect to cricket, right? Ghar ghar mein cricketer basta hai. And that is why India does very well in cricket as well. But at the same time, is there that orientation of an Indian towards esports? Is there an understanding of the Indian towards esports? And if not, or if yes, where does it come from?
What I would say is घर घर में क्रिकेटर तो बसता है, लेकिन घर घर में एक क्रिकेटर के साथ में 2 गेमर भी बसते हैं. If you look closely enough, the Indian population compared to any other country, I think so we are the youngest one. 40% of our population is Gen Z. अब जो आगे आने वाले हैं Gen Alpha, these people will be playing sports for sure, but these are indoor players, indoor sports person, I would call them. There was a recent research done by HP about the salary for esports player. It was anywhere between 6 to 12 lakhs per annum, but that changed when I spoke to Jay, where he says that tier 1 and the top 16 teams, the players who are playing there, they get anywhere between 12 to 36 lakhs per annum. Engineer से ज़्यादा और doctor से ज़्यादा है वो. If you want to be a esports player, now is the time to join as a esports player. Moreover, Education towards esports, I belong from the edtech domain just before the pre-pandemic, and I was doing a lot of gigs in the gaming industry, marketing gigs. Esports happened to me because one of the reasons is because RMG got a hit where nor the government nor the people who were placing all the policies in place, they didn't understand game of skill and game of chance. So I thought that there needs to be an additional channel for myself where I start making money. So I thought, what does Mallikarjun does best? Gaming and education. So I thought, let's do a research and see what exactly how does the Western counterparts see esports in education. Where universities, there are 130 universities who does graduation in esports. There is none in India at the moment. There is one offline center in Madhya Pradesh government. Hats off to them. I don't know what they were thinking, but they have opened up an esports school, one of its kind. I think so. It's going there. The reason I wanted to start esports school was because competitive gaming, only the top 1% of the 1%. It's like the ultra rich people. Uh, Only the players who are super good who gets into competitive gaming. That is the reason a lot of people turn their backs to esports and get into traditional jobs. I thought, for the love of esports, why don't you become an esports manager? An esports manager basically manages the esports team, the roster. Why don't you become a content creator or an influencer, or for a matter of fact, a coach, or maybe handle operations in esports or event? So my idea was, if you come and start learning about esports, be in the ecosystem, be in the industry, and contribute your share to the industry. That was the whole idea of starting the esports school. I still feel a lot of education, not education, people need to be educated along with the government. Young people like Diman, Jay, a lot of other people are doing a lot of things in terms of esports. Uh, People should uh, a lot of things are happening in sports, but not a lot of things are happening in esports. 2022, we got our green flag that you are a sport now. Go ahead and do whatever you people can do. We are building there. So that's just one step. I'm trying to build the Indian ecosystem. That's the reason I started the esports school.
Okay, thank you. I think again, it's interesting to see in which direction, let's say, the education with respect to esports would grow. Whether it would be similar to, for example, like my field is there, which is sports law. If we talk about India, India is growing in the field of sports law, but again, we don't see any education initiatives in the country, or we don't see any particular specialized degree being offered by Indian institutions in that particular arena as well, right? Now, coming to Dhiman, to you. The kind of work your company does, right, which is into content creation, which is into advertising, right? And I think in one of the sessions, it was also said that, which I would quote unquote, which is sports needs broadcast. Without this, there is no growth, right? And if we take that as the basis of the conversation and talk about first the sports, where there is that adrenaline rush which is there. There is that excitement related to the physical aspect of the sport is there. And it's easier comparatively to attract that crowd, to attract that fan, to make people consume that particular content, right? But when we compare it to esports, do you think it's on the similar lines, or there have been challenges which you had as a professional had to address, and there are new trends which are emerging out of it?
So basically, if you understand the whole ecosystem, as of now, gaming has already entered the lifestyle industry. So it's basically, if today a gentleman like Virat Kohli, if he's endorsing Puma, I think the perfect example is that orang utang is also being endorsed by Puma. So this is the perfect example of how conventional sports and esports team is on the same level. Secondly, when it comes to the advertising perspective, the broadcasting rights, etc., etc. Uh, to be honest, all the big players in the market are currently fighting for, the esports rights for particular tournaments. To be honest, they are willing to spend millions of dollars to get the rights for those tournaments, broadcast them, make it interactive as possible. And the best part is that on YouTube, which is obviously the free to use platform for everyone out here, the most viewed content is currently gaming. And you see people nowadays, they've moved away from the television phase. They have started burning content more on YouTube or any other local platforms that you see currently in India. Maybe, like Jay said, there are two new platforms like Router, Loco. You will see all the, you know, people actually there trying to view some innovative content, being as interactive as possible with the streamer who is actually streaming the content. And also at the same time, brands would want that kind of advertisement because that is first scenario advertisement in normal words. So whenever you see a TV ad or a YouTube ad, you'd want to skip that ad first. I mean, we all wait for the skip button, don't we? I mean, that's how as simple it is. But when the advertisement is inside a, an esports stream or a tournament being live or any place where the streamer is also speaking about the product, the whole canvas of the streamer is being treated like a place where you can, like broadcast different kinds of innovative ads, make it clickable maybe, etc., etc. And people find it interesting, and also the credibility of the brand increases along with the value of it. And there's a huge misconception that I'd like to say that people usually think about the audience base that esports has, or people who view esports content as also in the, in the early adult 18 to maybe 19, 20, or even 16 to 18 age category. It's not correct. I mean, we have data which I think will speak the most relevant part of it, that there are people of age group 35, 40 who are, consistent viewers of games, of esports streams, and they are like good subscribers, loyal subscribers of these esports athletes who who basically publish their content on these platforms. And at the same time, this is real-time statistics that we see on YouTube or any other platform that is currently available in India. As per the revenue of this market, it's totally dependent on few factors, but it's not that these are the only factors that needs to be, considered as a source of revenue. I mean, we as a tech company, we are currently working on new solutions that will enable us to also generate different kinds of revenues for not just esports, but gaming as a whole sector, right? So advertisements, sponsorships, yes. I mean, in the old conventional way, the legacy sponsorship deals are usually what you see in traditional sports. But in esports, you can bend around the rules. You can basically add, negate a lot of new factors. You can use technology pretty well because esports is all about technology. And you can bring a lot of, good revenue, which is also relevant in the numbers. I mean, like if you see 2022 as a year, I mean, more than 300 million USD has been invested in the Indian gaming market in the form of advertising or in the form of different brands coming in to check the whole routine, how it is, what ROI have been generating for them, or et cetera, et cetera. So in short, I just don't want to, push it too much. But in short, if I speak in a single line, what it actually means is that when you see technology as a factor residing around esports, or if not even esports, but gaming as a whole, you can actually mediate a lot of ways to generate different kinds of advertisement projects, content-based projects, and the thrilling or the entertaining factor that you said is as similar to as traditional sports, because at the end of the day, it totally depends on what type of content you are pushing ahead for people to actually look into, feel the growth of it, and actually want for more. I mean, because obviously the next day, if you want to come back to that particular content, you would want to see something as much exciting as it is. I mean, you would obviously want in India versus Australia T20 like yesterday happened to go down to the last ball and then maybe end up with an exciting result. I mean, that's how content should be. So same thing actually happens with esports. I mean, you want to make sure that the content and everything is as enthralling as possible for the users to come back, for them to actually look up to. And brands, obviously, they have different kinds of regimes, they have different kinds of ROIs, ARPUs they want in that particular region to excite them more as well. So that's a different kind of a story if you talk about advertisement. But anyway, I mean, content is what it should be. I mean, like I said in the whole conversation. Sorry.
Again, thank you, Dhiman. So I think to summarize and to add into my perspective as well into it, right, coming from a law perspective as well. So esports and traditional sports to an extent are very similar. They offer similar kind of opportunities, although the playing field is very different for them. But the nature of for example, the contract, for example, the stakeholders who are involved is quite similar. And esports might even take one extra step and go beyond. And when we specifically talk about India, right, for example, traditional sports is more focused on cricket. But when we look at esports, right, cricket is not even there in the picture. These are other sports which are taking the forefront and have been leading the, let's say, the revolution for esports in the country, right? Again, when I mentioned being a lawyer, and I think I'm the only lawyer at this particular summit, so I'm compelled to ask one law-specific question as well here, and which is, throughout my research into it, I've been seeing that laws specific to sports have been like a status quo, which does not change. It is pretty much set in stone, and you know, as a lawyer, what you're supposed to do, what kind of contracts you have to draft. But when we talk about esports, right, and all three of you run leading companies, teams, and even esports schools in the country, right? So what kind of issues, not being technical here, but what kind of legal issues were, let's say, in your path to, I would say, success or let's say, again, the revolution into esports? And it's a collective question. Anyone can choose to answer.
Okay, I think two parts to this. One is, I think there are no new rules or laws written for esports specifically. There are just recently, there have been a lot of new laws coming in for the gaming industry, but again, they are not applicable to us. For example, your GST rules, your different TDS rules that are coming in, the 28% GST, technically doesn't apply to us. We know that because that's how we've been consulted. But to the outside world, it feels as if that is going to hit our business as well. Again, if we are treated as sports, I don't think the confusion would arise. But when you're not treated as sports and just because you're playing games and you're categorized as a part of the gaming industry, that's something that I think that education needs to kind of spread. Even companies you first get confused. Like when the law came out first, our instinct reaction was how is it going to affect us? And then after doing our own research, consulting the right people, we realized that it's mainly for the RMG side of gaming and not the esports side. Coming to the problems that usually we face is the esports athletes that we recruit are quite young, coming from humble backgrounds. They are not very, they've not studied law or they don't have the right guidance, I would say. And when you're drafting contracts, one of the most common things within the industry, which is getting better now, is people breaching the contracts and not taking contracts or anything that they sign very seriously. Today, if our athlete contract is a 32-pager contract, they just see the page where their salary is mentioned, their term is mentioned, and whatever deliverables that they need to do.
Here, I would just like to interject and, let's say, give you the legal perspective here as well, right? For the want of maturity, let's say an athlete who is underage, right? They can just go ahead and breach their contract, and you can't enforce it
So
against that
when it
particular
comes
athlete.
to, if you're below 18, we have their parents sign as guardians. But let's say even the 18-year-old who is eligible to sign himself, I think the major problem that we face is them breaching the contract. Today, they are recruited by our team at an X salary. Tomorrow, they get 2x of the salary from a competitor. It's very easy for your mind to kind of just forget about everything that you've signed and just move on to the next team. Now, in our power, we can actually stall his career, or we can actually file a case and he will not be able to play till we kind of meet some settlement. But because the industry is on the growing trajectory, we don't really, uh, we obviously take whatever necessary steps that we need to, but we don't take any harsh measures yet. Again, that depends from company to company. But I think the immaturity, or people don't even have, they don't read the whole contract. They don't know there are some fine lines in the contract that can restrict them to do 10 other things. And that's where the major problem is caused. And yeah, I think on the legal end, I feel there are a lot of, like, the prize money that we win. We are yet not sure whether we have to pay GST on it, whether we have to pay any income tax, because we kind of categorize that as our business income, but it's actually one as it comes as a gift or lottery to us. So a lot of nitty-gritties that need to be defined well for esports, and I think that with time and as it grows, it'll. I think with I think none of us mentioned, but esports being a part of the Asian Games, the Olympics in 2026, even the Commonwealth Games. I don't know how many of you know, but India won a bronze medal in a game called Dota 2 at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. So again, not a lot of people are aware about it, but as you see the sport kind of going to Olympics and Asian Games, I feel automatically, the government will be compelled to, write laws specifically for esports and differentiate uh, gaming and esports.
If the other panel members have anything else to add. So I think,
So,
yeah.
I mean, adding to what Jay said, I think since this is a new chapter in a lot of, you know, the Indian audience, and obviously 90% of the Indian parents as of now think of gaming as an addiction, which is like how it is. So there are a lot of problem statements. The best solution is obviously to talk to the people who wants to understand this industry. I mean, promote that all these things, even gaming can be healthy, because it is. I mean, there are a lot of rigorous exercises of cognitive reflexes, etc., which I think Arjun would definitely know better, because he is into the side of investing his time onto the education side for esports, and it's the same journey for an esports athlete. But at the same time, I mean, from the legalities perspective, esports teams like Orang or the other players also, and even you guys, I think you need to deal with a lot of young talents, young market players, and that's why, I mean, there is this mass confusion of people when they don't understand what, legal implications might come up to in terms of these current situations. So the age category is only of concern, and also, like, it's a pretty new thing. I mean, 20 years, 30 years back, when maybe few people, when they started playing squash together, and then they decided that let's form a, squash committee, and then they start investing their time making rules, regulations, etc. And that's how the game evolved, and maybe that is how a game like squash evolved, or maybe a game like, hockey evolved. So same like with esports. I mean, it will take time to evolve, but at the same time, regulations and everything's are the, like the whole agenda that we discuss whenever we get together. Even now, when we were outside, we were talking about revenue, about the whole legal implications, which games are coming next. Because every day it's an updated list of reforms that you see, and also with the players also being involved. So this is what I would obviously say, because right now I think all of us, we talk with a lot of people who does not understand the industry pretty well, and often they have very similar questions to what you ask. And eventually people will have questions because, I mean, people when they don't understand something, psychologically they will definitely, try to negate that. So we need to be clear on our prospect, what we can do and what we cannot do, and what should be done and what should not be done. And I think overall, I think we see a good business here, and that's why we are all here, to be honest. And that's how it should be. So yeah, thank you so much for inviting.
I think just one thing to add to what Dhiman said. I think one of the gaps in the market right now is there's no regulatory body officially which is recognized by the government governing esports, and I think it's about time that I feel that body needs to be formed, because a lot of the yes and no's and do's and don'ts and all the legal implications can be solved at the you know that committee level. So I think with time, again, with Olympics and everything, that committee will have to be formed. But there are a lot of private bodies trying to call themselves a committee, but I feel it has to be, even if it's a private body, it needs to be recognized by the government, and something that everyone, all the key stakeholders within the business respect and agree to.
Yeah, I agree. So with respect to, and a clarification with respect to, having a regulatory body. Although there's not a regulatory body, but let's say Mayas and MITI, they have been appointed as the ministries who can govern the rules related to the broader category of game of skills, if not for esports, right? And I would like to conclude today's session by, using what Dr. Shaji talked about football and the way forward about football, where we look forward to a lot of gold medals in football, right? Similarly, we look forward to esports, and specifically Indian esports at the international stage, where we are representing in the Commonwealth, where we're representing in the Olympics, and not just winning one medal, but a lot of medals. At the same time, there seems to be a bit of uncertainty. It is not that the infrastructure, it is not that the similar things as the traditional sports do not exist, they exist. It is more about it reaching the masses and having that orientation and also the realization towards how important the industry of gaming and also esports is. With that, thank you so much to all the three panel members, and
Thank you.
a huge round of applause for the
Thank you.
panel members. And I would definitely also want to thank the team of Sports Planet, Rajesh, Shruti, and also Rishi, for congratulations for conducting such an event, and also thank you so much for your invitation.